Hi, I'm Xenna. Today I'll be reading from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows from 240 to 221. I'm from Al Mustansiriya University from Iraq, Baghdad. Oh, I don't know, Hermione, said Harry. I'd be pretty ashamed of him. Harry did not know where his rage was coming from, but it had propelled him to his feet too. Lupin looked as though Harry had hit him. If the new regime thinks muggle bones are bad, Harry said, what will they do to a half-werewolf whose father is in the Order? My father died trying to protect my mother and me. And you reckon he'll tell you to abandon your kid to go on an adventure with us? How dare you, said Lupin. This is not a desire for danger or personal glory. How dare you suggest such a... I think you are feeling a bit of a daredevil, said Harry. You fancy stopping Sirius's shoes? Harry, no, Hermione begged him, but he continued to glare into Lupin's livid face. I'd never have believed this, Harry said. The man who taught me to fight Dementors. A coward. Lupin drew his wand so fast that Harry had barely reached for his own. There was a loud bang, and he felt himself flying backward as if punched. As he slammed into the kitchen wall and slid to the floor, he glimpsed the tear of Lupin's cloak disappearing around the door. Remus, come back, Hermione cried, but Lupin did not respond. A moment later, they heard the front door slam. Harry, wailed Hermione, how could you? It was easy, said Harry. He stood up. He could feel a lump swelling where his head had hit the wall. He was still so full of anger, he was shaking. Don't look at me like that, he snapped at Hermione. Don't you start on her, snarled Ron. No, we must not fight, said Hermione, launching herself between them. You shouldn't have said that stuff to Lupin, Ron told Harry. He had it coming for him, said Harry. Broken images were racing each other through his mind. Sirius falling through the veil, Dumbledore suspended, broken in midair, a flash of green light, and his mother's voice begging for mercy. Parents, said Harry, should not leave their kids unless they have got to. Harry, said Hermione, stretching out a consoling hand, but he shrugged it off and walked away, his eyes on the fire Hermione had conjured. He had once spoken to Lupin out of that fireplace, seeking reassurance about James, and Lupin had consoled him. Now Lupin's tortured white face seemed to swim in the air before him. He felt a sickening surge of Remus. Neither Ron nor Hermione once spoke, but Harry felt sure that they were looking at each other behind his back, communicating silently. He turned around and caught them turning hurriedly away from each other. I know I shouldn't have called him a coward. No, you shouldn't, Ron at once, but he is acting like one. All the same, said Hermione. I know, said Harry, but if it makes him go back to Tonks, it'll be worth it, won't it? He could not keep the plea out of his voice. Hermione looked sympathetic, Ron uncertain. Harry looked down at his fate, thinking of his father. Would James have backed Harry in what he said to Lupin, or would he have been angry at how his son had treated his old friend? The silent kitchen seemed to hum with the shock of the recent scene, and with Hermione and with Ron and Hermione's unspoken reproaches. The Daily Prophet Lupin had bought was still lying on the table, Harry's own face staring up at the ceiling from the front page. He walked over to it and sat down, opened the paper at random, and pretended to read. He could not take in the words. His mind was still too full of the encounter with Lupin. He was sure that Ronald and Hermione had resumed their silent communications on the other side of the Prophet. He turned a page loudly, and Dumbledore's name leaped out at him. It was a moment or two before he took in the meaning of the photograph, which showed a family group. Beneath the photograph were the words, the Dumbledore family, left to right, Albus, Percival, holding newborn Ariana, Kendra, and Aberforth. His attention caught. Harry examined the picture more carefully. Dumbledore's face, Percival's, was a good-looking man with eyes that seemed to twinkle even in this faded old photograph. The baby Ariana was little longer than a loaf of bread and no more distinctive looking. The mother, Kendra, had jet black hair pulled into a high bun. Her face had a curved quality about it. Harry thought of the photos of Native Americans he'd seen as he studied her dark eyes, high cheekbones, and straight nose, formally composed above a high-necked silk gown. Albus and Aberforth were matching lacy collared jackets and had identical shoulder-length hairstyles. Albus looked several years older, but otherwise the two boys looked very alike. For this was before Albus's nose had been broken and before he started wearing glasses. The family looked quite happy and normal, smiling serenely up out of the newspaper. Baby Ariana's arm waved vaguely out of her shawl. Harry looked above the picture and saw the headline: Exclusive extract from the upcoming biography of Albus Dumbledore by Rita Skeeters. Thinking that it could hardly make him feel any worse than he already did, Harry began to read. Proud and haughty, Kendra Dumbledore could not bear to remain in a mold on the world after her husband Percival's well-publicized arrest and imprisonment in Azkaban. She therefore decided to uproot the family and relocate to Godric's Hollow, the village that was later to gain fame as the scene of Harry Potter's strange escape from you-know-who. Like mold on the wall, Godric's Hollow was home to a number of wizarding family, but as Kendra knew none of them, she would be spared the curiosity about her husband's crime and she had faced in her former village. Repeatedly rebuffing the friendly advances of her new wizarding neighbors, she soon ensured that her family was left well alone. Slammed the door in my face when I went around to welcome her with a patch of homemade cauldron's cake, says Bashilda Pashkot. The first year they were there, I only ever saw the two boys. Wouldn't have known there was a daughter if I hadn't been picking the Plungentines by the moonlight the winter after they moved in, and saw Kendra leading Ariana on out into the back garden. Walked her around, the lone one, keeping a firm grip on her. They took her back inside, didn't know what to make of it. It seems that Kendra thought to move to Godric's Hollow was a perfect opportunity to rid Ariana once and for all, something she had probably been planning for years. The timing was significant. Ariana was barely 7 years old when she vanished from sight. And seven is the age by which most experts agree that magic will have revealed itself, if present. Nobody now alive remembers Ariana ever demonstrating even the slightest sign of magical ability. It seems clear, therefore, that Kendra made a decision to hide her daughter's existence rather than suffer the shame of admitting that she had produced a squib. Moving away from the friends and neighbors who know Ariana would, of course, make the imprisoning her all the easier. The tiny number of people who henceforth know of Ariana's existence could be counted upon to keep the secret, including her two brothers who deflected awkward questions with the answer their mother had taught them: "My sister is too frail for school." Next week, Albus Dumbledore at Hogwarts, the prize and the presents. Harry had been wrong. What he had read had indeed made him feel worse. He looked back at the photograph of the apparently happy family. Was it true? How could he find out? He wanted to go to Godric's Hollow, even if Bathilda was in no fit state to talk to him. He wanted to visit the place where he and Dumbledore had both lost loved ones. He was in the process of lowering the newspaper to ask Ron's and Hermione's opinions when a deafening crack echoed around the kitchen. For the first time in 3 days, Harry had forgotten all about Creature. His immediate thought was that Lupin had burst back into the room, and for a split second he did not take in the mess of struggling limbs that had appeared out of thin air right beside his chair. He hurried to his feet as Creature disentangled himself and, bowing low to Harry, croaked, "Creature has returned with the thief Mundungus Fletch, Master." Mundungus scrambled up and pulled out his wand. Hermione, however, was too quick for him. Expelliarmus! Mundungus' wand soared into the air, and Hermione caught it. Wild-Eye Mundungus dived for the stairs. Ron Rugby tackled him, and Mundungus hit the store floor with a muffled crunch. "What?" he bawled, right within his attempts to free himself from Ron's grip. "What have I done?" Sitting up, leading. Ourself on me. What are you playing at?" "What have I done? Let me go, let me go." "You are not in much of a position to make threats," said Harry. He threw aside the newspaper, crossed the kitchen in a few strides, and dropped his knees beside Mundungus, who stopped struggling and looked terrified. Ron got up, panting, and watched as Harry pointed his wand deliberately at Mundungus' nose. Mundungus stank of steel sweat and tobacco smoke. His hair was matted and his robe stained. "Creature apologizes for the delay in bringing in the thief, Master," croaked the elf. "Fletch knows how to avoid capture. Has many hide holes and accomplices. Nevertheless, Creature cornered the thief in the end." "You've done really well, Creature," said Harry, and the elf bowed low. "Right, we've got a few questions for you," Harry told the Mundungus, who shouted at once. "I panicked, okay? I never wanted to come along. No offense, mate, but I never volunteered to die for you." "That was Blitten. You know who came flying at me? Anyone would have got a hit there. I said all along I didn't want to do it." "For your information, none of the rest of us disappeared," said Hermione. "Well, you are a bunch of Blitten errors, then, aren't you? But I never pretended I was up for killing myself. I was never up for killing myself. We are not interested in why you ran out on Mad Eye," said Harry, moving his wand a little closer to Mundungus' baggy, bloodshot eyes. "We already know you were unreliable bit of scum." "Well then, why the hell am I being uttered down by ourselves? Or is this about them goblins again? I ain't got none of them left, or you could have them." "It's not about the goblets either, although you are getting warmer," said Harry. "Shut up and listen." It felt wonderful to have something to do, something of whom he could demand some small portion of truth. Harry's wand was now so close to the bridge of Mundungus' nose that Mundungus had gone cross-eyed trying to keep it in view. "When you cleaned out this house of anything valuable," Harry began, but Mundungus interrupted him again. "She has never cared for any of that junk." There was the sound of padding feet, a blaze of shining copper, an echoing clang, and a shriek of agony. Creature had taken a run at Mundungus and hit him over the head with a saucepan. "Call him off! Call him off! Call him off! Should be locked up! Elf should be locked up!" screamed Mundungus, cowering as Creature raised the heavy-bottomed pan again. "Creature, no!" shouted Harry. Creature's thin arms trembled with the weight of the pan, still held aloft. "Perhaps just one more, Master Harry, for luck." Ron laughed. "We need him conscious, Creature, but if he needs persuading, you can do the honors," said Harry. "Thank you very much, Master," said Creature with a bow, and he retreated a short distance, his great pale eyes still fixed upon Mundungus with loathing. "When you stripped this house of all the valuables you could find," Harry began again, You took a bunch of stuff from the kitchen cupboard. There was a locket there. Harry's mouth was suddenly dry. He could sense Ron and Hermione's tension and excitement too. What did you do with it? Why? Asked Mundungus. It was valuable. Is it valuable? You've still got it, cried Hermione. And that's it. Thank you very much.